Hello and welcome. In this lecture, we'll be looking at the JSON syntax. The JSON syntax is a subset of the JavaScript syntax, so it is derived from the JavaScript syntax. JSON also has a set of rules that must be followed in the syntax. So these are the JSON syntax rules. The data in JSON must have a name paired value. That is, the name object must have a name, and then it must also have a value. So they must be in pairs. The data is separated by commas. So where you have several pairs, you separate them with a comma. The objects are enclosed in curly braces. So whereby you have objects defined in your JSON syntax, you must enclose them in curly braces. Arrays, whereby you use arrays to house your data, they are enclosed in square brackets. So the arrays are housed or enclosed in square brackets. So anywhere you see square brackets in a JSON syntax, know that you are looking at an array. Also, anywhere you find curly braces, you are looking at enclosed objects. So these are the rules that should be followed in creating a JSON syntax. I have got the Notepad++ text editor. I'm just going to show an example of the name pair value in JSON. So the JSON syntax, the data is written as a name/value pair. So a name value pair must consist of a field name, which must be in double quotes, followed by a colon, then followed by the value. For example, so the first name, we're using camel case here. JavaScript tends to use camel case. Camel case is when the first letter is lowercase and then the first letter of a name is uppercase. So this is camel case. So first name, separate that with a colon, and then I'll say Alex. So the value must be separated or enclosed in quotes. So the quotes here, and then also the value must have a quote. So this is how you will illustrate a name value pair in JSON. So the first name here is the field, is a field name, followed by a colon, and then the value is this here called Alex. So I've given it a value. First name is a field, followed by a colon, and then the value. With JSON names, you require double quotes, whereas JavaScript doesn't, even though the JSON syntax is derived from JavaScript. When writing your JSON syntax, the field names, you have to enclose it in double quotes. JavaScript, you don't, but JSON, you must enclose in double quotes. So this is an illustration of a name value pair. So the name here must have a value. So every JSON syntax, wherever there is a name, it must have a value. They must come in pairs. And the name values in JSON are surrounded by double quotes. JSON can have other values like number or integer or string. Strings are double quotes. So this here is a string. A text is referred to as a string in JSON. Okay, a boolean, the values can also be a boolean. A boolean means true or false. Also, JSON values can be an array. An array is multiple values represented as one variable. An object also can be a JSON value. Let me illustrate an example of a JSON object. So this is how you specify a JSON object. It must be enclosed in curly braces. So we can use the same code here. I'll just copy that code and bring it here, but I'll just enclose it in curly braces. So you got the left curly braces and then the right. So this is known as a JSON object now because of the curly braces. Okay, and notice where it's got first name. If I wanted to include another value like last name, I can just put a comma there and then type in last name and then enclose that in double quotes. Very important. And then the value, a comma, and then the value. So I just put Jones. Okay, so this is a JSON object. So you got the first name value, first name field, and then the value is Alex. So you separate the values with a comma. So that's a comma. The next field is last name, comma, colon, and then the value. So the colon separates the field name from the value. Remember that colon separates the field name from the value, and the names in the JSON code must be enclosed inside quotes, double quotes. Next, we're going to create a JSON array. So to do that, say for example, I wanted to create some arrays of individual staff. So I'll just say staff. That would be the field. I'll subtract that with colon, with double quotes, sorry. And then the value will now be an array. So to specify an array, you need square brackets and then you separate them. So what I'll not do, I will copy this object inside the array. Okay, this will now be one value. I'll separate that with a comma, and then this will be a second. I just tab that to make that tidy, and then I put a third. Okay, so these, if you notice, this is the square brackets and it encloses the array. So the name of the variable is staff and it contains multiple values which are known as array. So I just need to change the names. First name here, I can just come here and say Peter. Last name, I'll say James. Here, I'll come here and say Jane. Last name, Doe. When writing an array, you separate the values with a comma. So these are the values. So all the values you separate with a comma apart from the last value. So this is the first value, comma, second value, comma, third value, no comma. So this object staff contains an array with 3 values. So each of these values here are all objects of this variable here. So in this example here, the object staff is an array that contains 3 objects. Each of the object is a record of a person with the first name and the last name. In this lecture, we had a look at the syntax in JSON, how to create them. We looked at the syntax rules. We also created examples using the name value pair, the JSON object. We created a JSON object. We also created a JSON array. Thank you so much for your time. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to help. Take care and bye for now.